Hello, this is James Corbett of CorbettReport.com, and it's currently the 4th day of May 2011 here in Japan. But today I'm joined from Chile by Matias Rojas, who, of course, the listeners may remember is the activist who confronted David Rockefeller at the Chilean airport not so long ago. And he has an excellent YouTube channel, NW Noticias, the links for which will be in the documentation for this interview. And if you're watching on YouTube, I'll put a link to his channel directly. Matias, it's great to talk with you again. Thanks for joining us.
Great. How are you, Corbett?
Well, I'm doing pretty well, thank you. And I certainly hope things are going okay for you in Chile. Tell us, again, for those who might be seeing you or hearing you for the first time, who you are, where you come from, and why you're doing what you're doing.
Well, I am a Chilean student, a 17-year-old Chilean student. This year, on January 17th, I went to the airport here in Chile, and I confronted Mr. Rockefeller from a source that I had on the media. I was able to tell him all of the things that the world resistance against the New World Order, you might say, is willing to manifest to this man, because what he's doing and the organizations he's part of are trying to create a one world government right now, and are trying to bring the entire world into a corruption state world, police state.
Well, that's right, and you did such a good job on that video, I think, because if there's anyone who needs confronting on those issues, I think it's David Rockefeller. And I understand that you've had a bit of a follow-up about that and some information about who he was meeting with while he was here in Chile.
Well, of course, on January 22nd, 5 or 6 days after the video came out, Sebastián Piñera himself, the current president of Chile, went for vacations to one of his private homes in Lago Ranco, the same place where Rockefeller was with Mr. Agustín Edwards, who has the biggest media consortium in Latin America. And they were having a good time there, and suddenly Piñera was going there. A newspaper called El Ciudadano, the Citizen, asked Piñera if he knew that Rockefeller was in Chile and if he was going to meet with him. Piñera said that yes, he was there, but he was not going to meet with him. But there's an interesting point that I want to make, because during his trip on a helicopter, Piñera ran out of fuel and he had to land in the middle of the road before getting to Lago Ranco. The media went there and they found that he was accompanied by a man called Andrés Navarro, who publicly is part of the Council of the Americas, created, of course, by Mr. Rockefeller. And this man, in his own words, he admits that he funded the campaign for Ricardo Lagos from the left, and that he's part of a democratic group of entrepreneurs that have funded and have financed Concertación, the supposed political opposition to this right-wing government of Piñera. So you have both sides of the political spectrum here in Chile being controlled by the same elite, and that is an example of how corporations are behind the scene. And of course, this signifies that probably Navarro was there in the helicopter to see Mr. Rockefeller, given the fact that he is on the board of the Council of the Americas.
Interesting, but not really surprising, is it?
Yeah. You always have this little things in the media, but nobody asks, where this man came from or who is he,
Exactly. Yeah, very interesting. Well, it sounds like much of the same type of thing that happens in everywhere else is happening in Chile too, so no surprise. Interesting. Well, I understand that President Obama also graced your country with a visit recently.
Of course, Obama came to spread his world government rhetoric once again. This time he was accompanied by the comments of President Sebastián Piñera, and Piñera himself gave the example of how Europe survived to the two world wars, and after all of the collapse, they created the European Union as a result of the conflict. He stated that in order to fight global warming and terrorism and crime, that we must all unite and do the same thing that they did in Europe with the creation of the European Union. And he mentioned the idea of creating a free trade area for the Americas, a dream that was obviously envisioned by Mr. Rockefeller himself, David Rockefeller, with the creation of the American Society, the Council of the Americas, and a lot of other globalist think tanks pushing for this idea of a continental FTA, destroying all economic borders and independence of the member states. And that's what we are seeing with these multinational corporations that benefit from the system. They go country to country to wreck all of the resources. He didn't mention Rockefeller as the creator of this idea, but he mentioned George Bush Sr. Of course, you know that on September the 11th of 1991, I think, Bush came out and called for a new world order shaped after what the UN founders envisioned for the world. Obviously, I did a little research and came up with the fact that Bush wasn't the first to talk about a free trade zone from Alaska to Tierra del Fuego, being the south of Chile and the south of Argentina. Robert Mueller, who recently died, he was former Secretary General to the United Nations, and he wrote in many publications talking about the spiritual foundations of the United Nations as a one world government. And he writes in his book Paradise Earth that he was the first who spoke directly to Mr. Bush Sr. about this continental idea of unification between the countries of all the Americas. So this rhetoric repeats itself, and it is not something new. It is an old idea of a one world government that hasn't changed a lot. Also, to give you some background about whom this man is, Robert Mueller, he also supported and was a big player in the creation of the Earth Charter with globalists like Maurice Strong, nurtured by the Rockefeller family and Mikhail Gorbachev. Mr. Mueller conceived Costa Rica as the capital for a one world government, given the fact that the United Nations located the UN University for Peace and the Earth Council, created by the Rio de Janeiro conference that was held at Rio de Janeiro in 1992. So you find a lot of world government rhetoric behind all of the globalist environmentalist movement that pushes for carbon taxes and pushes for this idea of getting rid of humans to preserve other natural life forms.
What's the understanding among the general populace there in Chile about how this agenda is proceeding and what's really behind it?
Well, many people are waking up, but it is not something general in people in this Chilean society. Many think that after the creation of this democracy, after what happened with the dictatorship, that we are all fine and we are not living in any police state, that everything is a thing of the past. They have this idea that the current government that we have is somehow a non-dictatorship and is one of the greatest democracies because, we beat Pinochet with the 1973 coup and we're all fine. But that's not true. We have right now a dictatorship by the financial elites in Chile that is continuing right now. Well, in terms of the police state, very important things are happening in Chile. Is growing faster and faster. We have this so-called bomb case where we have this group of 17 supposed anarchists being detained with little evidence to prove that they were involved in those bombs that constantly go off in Santiago de Chile. Days before Obama was here, a new anarchist group appeared. They reportedly blew up a noise bomb in a residential area. They sent an email to the media and said that the next target was going to be in a school. All of this in the context of Obama's visit. So they were trying to create like a false flag operation to somehow watch the minds of the police before Obama was here. And I think that was the reason why the police that day was so, freaked out, because we had our Obama posters, Obama Joker posters out there. And, a group of 7 police came right in the middle of it for no reason at all. And 7 of us were detained for only being stand there with those banners. We have, Sabas Chawan, the main prosecutor of Chilean justice, calling for electronic surveillance and covert operations under the current Chilean government. We have thumb scanning machines being just announced to be implemented in all Chilean stadiums to fight crime. supposedly to fight crime. We have an increased number of police in the streets, 10,000 more police in the streets, and implementation of technologies right out of New York with telescreens in Viña del Mar as a beta test to what they want to do here in Chile more and in a more massive way, I think. And of course, you have the case of Rodrigo Ginspeter, the current Minister of Interior of Chile, who publicly said in the media that here in Chile we had, an Al-Qaeda group, and that he was incriminating directly the Pakistani citizen Mohammed Saif Urrahman Khan, that was later considered declared innocent after they didn't found enough proof to say that he was part or he was linked to terrorist activities. Wayne Madsen, this investigative reporter, did an interesting report doing a parallel between Operation Gladio in Europe and current bomb attacks being blamed to anarchist groups. Wayne Madsen mentioned the fact that Ginspeter had been called a militant of the Israeli cause by Senator Eugenio Tuma here in Chile. So you also have a lot of representation of the Zionists in the face of Rodrigo Ginspeter with what happened recently with the Pakistani case here in Chile, trying to inject this idea of Arab Muslim, radicalism of Al-Qaeda here in Chile and in South America.